Hello and welcome to It's Your Life, Own It. My name is Marissa Bluedorn. I am your host. I'm the editor-in-chief of Own It Magazine and Publishing. And these are Monday motivational moments. And I have with me today very good friend of mine, and I call her a spa to the professionals. She is also a contributing writer for the Own It magazine, and she's going to be talking to us and introducing us today to her community, emerging Lotus community. Elaine Scales is taking center stage and owning it. Yeah. How are you? How are you? How are you?
Oh, I am doing well. Thank you so much for inviting me to sit here in your presence. It's just an absolutely true honor and a privilege. Thank you very much.
And so you're going to be talking to us today about the emerging Lotus community. Share a little bit with the audience. Let people know who you are, what it is that you do, and share with us about your community.
Oh, well, great. Thank you so much again. I'm Elaine, and I have actually been providing coaching services for almost 20 years. That's hard to imagine. And when it comes out, it's still, I'm in disbelief. But it's been an honor and a privilege to do so. I started out as actually a productivity slash business coach, and moved into personal or life coaching. And the reason why I did that is because what I saw as I was being a business coach for a company, is that productivity was interfered by the people or the individuals' challenges that they had in their personal lives. So it's been, a long journey, and along the way, I myself have learned a lot and grown. Then I moved away from life coaching, because life coaching is really about transactions, right? About doing. And I wanted to evolve, because the individuals that I was working with and the people that I met along the way, there was a deeper emptiness that I recognized. And so I moved away from personal life coaching, and I became a transformational or deep coach, which is different, because when we're talking about transformational coaching, we really talk about being. So we move away from doing and we enter into being, which is really ultimately we want to become, right?
Right.
And
Mhm.
then along the way, again, I added, because I started meditating, I started the practice of mindfulness, and I saw the benefit of those that I was coaching. Uh, I saw the benefit of how it can enhance that transformation. So now I am a mindfulness and meditation teacher. So I've added these services to really take my servant leader, because I'm a servant leader, to
Mhm.
take that to the next level, and really to be and walk in what I am called to do, as you are. You're doing some amazing things, and with each year, I can see your walk changing and being more focused and driven. And as you walk in your purpose, it becomes very clear. And so it's been an honor to watch you grow as well.
It's awesome because we're speaking the same language, and it's so important for people to tap in,
Yeah.
really, really tap in. And as we talk about it, it's like it's so funny when you're working on a project and a project has titles, how you actually begin to see conscious. Now you're awake to how much you say this, but you're being unleashed,
Yeah.
right? Being
Absolutely.
truly unleashed to, and that means that every shackle,
Yep.
every chain, anything that has been holding you back, that's what people need. They need the release to be truly themselves. And that's interesting. You talked about being a productivity coach initially, and organizations will hire individuals like myself, IO consultants or practitioners. And IO is industrial organizational psychology is my background. And we look at mindset as it pertains to work and performance. And that's
Hmm.
what you mean by productivity. How productive are you being in your life?
Right.
How are you showing up in your performance of life? Not performing, but how are you showing up your skill sets, your competencies, your ideas, your vision for your own life or vision for your work for your life? How are you showing up? And what companies want to do with their employees. And you got to think about yourself as being your CEO. And
Yes.
that's what I've always said, adapt to yourself, the big picture mindset. And the big picture mindset is being the CEO, the chief executive officer of your life. Being that chief officer takes you from thinking at this level,
Hmm.
seeing, like you said, transactional activity, thing, just singular, to
Right.
broadly,
Yes.
and projecting out, which is stretching you. As I'm doing this, I'm actually stretching myself. You're stretching what is in you, and
Right.
you tap into that, and you want to expand that, because in that comes discovery, and discovery comes adventure. Oh
Yeah.
my God, I didn't realize I could do that. What else can I do? So
Absolutely.
you begin to unleash and release yourself in doing that. And when you become the CEO of your life, you begin to make executive, high level decisions. It's not a cliche. Owning it is not a cliche. When you're saying the emerging Lotus, it's not a cliche. There's actually a transformation that is critical that happens in that emergence, that is so critical for the release of finding that being, and finding that fulfillment. And so, share a little bit. You have the emerging Lotus community, and share a little. Introduce the audience to the community.
Oh, great. Yes, I will. Thank you. Along my journey, one of the things that I personally was missing was a community that was a safe space, right? That was free of contradiction and judgment. A space that was led or facilitated by someone that would really give me the tools to look within and really dig deep, right? So since I wasn't able to find it, I thought I would create it. And so the Emerging Lotus community is really focused on the lotus itself. Because one of the things that we know about lotus flowers is that they are planted in polluted waters, um, dirty waters, muddy waters. They really thrive in the muck and the mire. And as it moves through all of this stuff, it emerges. But even when it emerges, when it breaks the surface of the water, it's still a bud, it's still closed. And so after it emerges, then and it hits the light, then the flower itself opens. And so the emerging lotus community is just that. It is created for whomever to come in, um, unmask. So it gives you an opportunity to slowly or at your own pace release the mask that you've been wearing. And so I provide what I call mindful moment reflection questions. And these questions are for you to really reflect, move past the surface, and really look at or discover what is really your truth. Because we walk around saying, I want my truth, I want to walk in my truth, I want to find my truth. But the work that's required to do so, many people give up because it becomes too much of a challenge. And so in this community, I offer the mindful moment reflection question. I offer guided meditations.
Mhm.
We just finished the 30-day mindfulness challenge.
Oh, wow.
And I'm rolling out in August it's called the path to emergence. And the path to emergence within the community is where I spend about 10 or 15 minutes talking about topics that really are important to us, but on a deeper level. So, for example, when we talk about boundaries, what does that really mean, right? And more importantly, how do you define it? Or, and what are you willing to do to set those boundaries, but more importantly, honor those boundaries? So these are things that I'm offering within the community. Um, and can't stress enough that it's safe and it's free of contradiction. And I think it's that part is very important to me, because too often people try to convince us to change our minds or convince us to follow their path. And if we're not really grounded, if we're not uh, fully aware of who we are, we will follow suit. And
Mm.
so the community is free of contradiction. You come, you share your beliefs. I will ask you questions that will challenge your beliefs, your mindsets. And so that's it. It's a beautiful, amazing community.
Yeah, so when you said community at the top and creating that safe space,
Yes.
I thought about immediately. My mind went to the village, right? So
Yes.
the village, and we talk about it takes a village to bring up a child, but it actually we are actually operating in villages, right? And so we need to know what that village is. And I always one of the biggest tools I always use and recommend that people use personally is the SWOT analysis, and
Absolutely.
using that SWOT analysis to evaluate your community. Where are your strengths? Where are your weaknesses? And you talked about boundaries, and it's easy for us. So the work internally is challenging when you've done some things to yourself and to people that have been damaging. It's very difficult to look at yourself, because then you have to see yourself, and in some cases, we're seeing a monster, right? Sometimes we're seeing someone who is abusive. That's not a good feeling.
No.
But guess what? The very thought that the very act of looking at that is a sign that you're changing and you don't want that for yourself anymore. So if you could focus on that's your past, not your present or your future, you can get past it. The biggest hurdle is when we have made the change, inside of our own cocoon, and
Hmm.
now we're getting ready, because we're talking about boundaries. Now we're breaking out of that cocoon to show the world what has been transforming inside, right? Now we
Absolutely.
go out to the world, and now it's time for the world to kind of try to either embrace us or shove us back into the cocoon to kind of flip us back to what we were.
Mhm.
That's where boundaries become challenging too. And when we were talking backstage, we talked about not only getting into alignment, but how do you maintain alignment?
Yes.
Or how do you not only set boundaries, but how do you enforce your boundaries?
Right.
Because they're going to be crossed. And one of the things that I was looking at yesterday and watching and looking for something to put on the TV while I'm working, I'm not really going to be watching it,
Sure.
but at least it's entertainment for me in the background. And I was watching, I forget the name of the movie, but it talked about the Me Too when they were bringing down Fox and the
Mhm.
sex. And all I could say to myself was, you allowed them to cross your boundaries from the door.
Yeah.
When you allowed the first offense, you told them that your boundaries are compromisable, that they can break those boundaries. And that's the biggest thing. The biggest thing is not setting the boundaries. The biggest thing is enforcing the boundaries. Um, and a lot of times, if there are boundaries, we can, for the most part, keep them because we wanted them in the first place. The biggest thing is, and I know that you address that in the community, is how do you value yourself
Yes.
so much that you enforce, because that's what it really has to happen. You really have to love yourself enough. There was one woman in the movie where she actually walked away. She told the gentleman, you know, no, you're not coming back to my hotel room. That's just not happening. And she sat there and she did the introspective work, and she said, I just screwed my career. I just, I just gave up my career. But she has her dignity,
Yeah.
and your dignity is what is going to keep you with your head up high, and not feeling shamed, or because that's where those nasty feelings come from, is when we compromise. We're in conflict with our own moral compass,
Yeah.
our own moral standards, our own boundaries, so to speak. uh, Talk about how folks can get into the community. How do they gain access to the community, find more about the community?
Oh, yes, thank you. So you can find out more about the community by visiting my website, and that's edsintegrativeservices.com. And you just click on the community tab. If you want to go directly and join the community, there's a link that I will provide for you, and people can just click on the link and join the community. Now, it is a membership community, so this is not a free community. And so the membership is reasonable. It's within everyone's ability if you are really interested and committed. It's because I want to say this when we're talking about boundaries and the Me Too movement. A lot of times, people or individuals, their boundaries from the outside, when we look and we say, "Oh, you allowed them to violate your boundaries." The sad part is, Marisa, that a lot of people don't know enough about themselves to set those boundaries.
Mm.
So they're walking through this space, this time in their lives without boundaries because they don't know how to set them. And that's because, and this is something that you and I have talked about over the course of years, when they were little, when they were children, when they were at their most vulnerable, for the adults in their lives to teach them boundaries, right? Those adults violated their boundaries. And so
Mhm.
these children thought that this was normal.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
and so now we're adults, right? And so the challenge is getting to the place where you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, and saying to yourself, because there's something inside of you that's just yearning, that says, nope, something's got to change. And at that point, where do you go? And so the emerging leaders community is exactly where you can go. And I think we also have to break down what that looks like. Who is that individual? What does that individual look like? That individual looks like a doctor, a judge, an
Mm.
attorney, a CEO, the professors at the college. It does not look like someone who is homeless or on the street, or a substance use abuser, because that's easy for us to say. It's
It
them,
is.
not me, right? It's
Yeah.
them, it's not us. Well, the truth is, it is us. And by the grace of God, you're not in that situation, but your
Right.
pain is still the same, right? And I think that we need to understand that and recognize that and accept that we are looking at where we could have been,
Yeah.
except for our coping skills. So I wanted to share that with
Yeah.
you because I think that's important for us to.
It is important because, again, it goes back to conformity.
Yes.
The reason why you accepted, and one of the young ladies, she walked back to her desk, and oh, she told the offender, because that's what it becomes when somebody violates your
Yes.
boundaries. They are the offender.
Yes.
And she told the offender, "You're not going to tell anybody." And it's just like, she was worried about what, the thing that was the least important, how she looked to others,
That's
not
exactly.
what was going on internally. That is going to stay with her forever. See,
Yes.
what other people think of you comes and goes. You're going
Yes.
to go somewhere else. But the one variable that never changes in your
Never.
life is you. You have to take you everywhere you go. So your moral conviction has to be that you're not going to compromise your self value by
Absolutely.
allowing anyone to violate your boundaries.
Yes.
And so it does become tough because you're gonna, we're gonna fall under that stereotype that you're angry.
Yeah.
But it's not angry.
Nope.
Let's bring that back in. No, it is angry.
Yeah.
God said, "Be angry and sin not." He did not tell us we would not have an emotion that is angry. Angry means that something is not right.
Yep.
It's an indicator.
Yep.
That's all it is. It's an emotional response that's an indicator to being wronged
Yeah.
or seeing or experiencing a wrong that is so wrong that it triggers a high level emotional response. And that
Absolutely.
is what we should be. You should be angry when people are mistreating you and violating you. You should be angry, but just like you said, don't get vengeance.
Right.
You go and you do the right thing, and you handle it in the right manner with the right character response. But you do get angry because you have set the boundaries and you should be respected. That's your right to be respected. Communities like this, and like I said, folks, when we first came on, was listen, she is the spa treatment. You with me, we be like, oh, come on, rebels, let's go get them. She's gonna be like, "Musa, you got this. You don't even have to let them move you." She's gonna bring you in, and you want to be in the emerging Lotus community. You want to be in this community and you want to get proper alignment. Well, this is the first segment of many segments to come to talk about the emerging Lotus community. And like I said, really excited to have you guys here with us and give you the opportunity to find out that this community does exist and that it is something that can help you do the emerging work internally that you need to do to show up, and just like Elaine said earlier, to really show up a being, not just merely existing, not being productive, but being truly fulfilling in your life. So any of your closing remarks, Elaine?
Uh, this has been, as always, it's just amazing to be in your presence. And you and I go back a long way. So I really do thank you for this opportunity. And I would like to leave this with the viewers and you and me, right?
Yeah.
Um, it's in this moment, in this exact moment, that we get to choose the next step. We can respond to what's going on in our lives, or we can react to what's going on in our lives. It is really important for us to move away from reacting to moving to respond. So in this moment, take your time, take a breath, right? And just see things as they are. And when you are ready, we are welcoming you to the Emerging Lotus community.
Oh,
Thank you.
awesome, 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 awesome. And ladies and gentlemen, there, Elaine's The Emergence Lotus Communities link will be in the comment section so that you can just go ahead and click on the link, find out more information, and join the community. Join the community. The way that you are able to transform, it does take a village. And it takes not only a village to raise the kids, but it's a village that keeps the community together. The community is the village. And so we just want to say thank you so much for being here with us today, Elaine, taking time out of your busy schedule. We know you do multiple things with different organizations and things like that. And you have your own coaching business to run. So we really appreciate your time, really appreciate you sharing with our audience that. So ladies and gentlemen, we are out. This is the top of the week. So make this week an incredible week. It's up to you. Right.